Wow, and that was the first faux pas of the day. We'll see if there are going to be multiple faux pas today. Sean Palmer, Seth Kamen's nowhere to be found. Seth and Sean Sports Radio on here on backsportspage.com and StreamYard. So today I'm by myself. Seth is taking the day off to recuperate, and you can see I am in full Islanders mode. I got the banner over there. I got the shirt over here. I got the hat somewhere around here. I'm all about it. Tonight, 7:30 Eastern Time, 4:30 Pacific Time. We'll talk a little bit more hockey at 5:30 Eastern in about 30 minutes when my brother, the ardent Islander fan, comes on. But before that, at 5:15, we'll have Mark Rubin, who if you've listened to the show or watched the show, you know that Mark is the masshole. Like in all respects. Like he loves everything Boston. We'll talk about Danny Ainge. We'll talk about where the Celtics go. We'll talk about Cam Newton, everything Boston, and Patriots owner Robert Kraft getting a Bentley because he didn't have one, I guess. But anyway, we have a lot on the agenda with both Mitch and Mark. And if you'd like to dial in, you're happy to do so. We can't wait for some of our listeners and viewers to have some chats with us, both on Facebook and otherwise. But let's check out the old Facebook and let's see if anybody is actually posting on there as we go live here. We have not done this on a normal basis, but here we are. So far I'm looking. It's funny. It's Facebook on the top and it's me on the bottom. So it's great trying to watch myself at the same time of myself. But anyway, so last night, what happened? Last night we have a couple of games that went on in the NBA. Most importantly, the 76ers taking care of business. Yeah, 118 to 102. Philadelphia throwing it down to Atlanta in a game that they really needed to have more than anything else. And look, if you want to tell me that Joel Embiid is unhealthy and that his knee is bothering him, well, I'll take 40 points and 13 boards along with 2 steals and a block any day. And the best part about Joel Embiid, and I did not watch a lot of the 76ers throughout the year. I'm a Knicks fan. I am tried and true New York. And I have not paid much attention to the 76ers because I didn't think we'd be playing them. I didn't think the Knicks would be in the playoffs, and lo and behold, they were. But they got schooled by the Hawks. I used to be a fantasy basketball player. And fantasy basketball is interesting. The stats are generally field goal percentage, free throw percentage, rebounds, assists, blocks, steals, and points. And some of them, you have an extra category of turnovers as a negative. Those are generally the type of stats, and you might have 3-point percentage built in there. And when I was playing, and this is 4, 5, 6 years ago, you would always have to wonder about the center position. Because centers are not normally the players that hit free throws. And truth be told, if you got Shaquille O'Neal, yeah, you loved having Shaquille O'Neal for just about everything except free throw percentage, right? I mean, you definitely did not want him as a free throw guy whatsoever because you know what? He just couldn't do it. He didn't have it. So you kind of wondered where he would be, where you would be under free throw percentage. And let's look at the leaders. And I'll get back to, and we got some sound for some reason. Not exactly sure why we found. Oh, there we go. So I want to, there's a reason I'm bringing this up. And if you look at the statistics leaders this year in free throw percentage, free throws made, free throw percentage in the regular season. This is courtesy of ESPN. Chris Paul, Damian Lillard, Danilo Gallinari, Kyrie Irving, Stephen Curry, Kobe White, Kemba Walker, Chris Middleton, Jordan Clarkson, Tobias Harris. Okay. What do those guys all have in common? And those are the top 10. None of them are centers. None of them are centers. And then you get down to number 35. And number 35 is Joel Embiid. And number 26 is Nikola Jokic, the new reigning MVP. And why are these two teams, the Nuggets and the 76ers, doing as well as they are right now? Part of that has to be the fact that if you look at Joel Embiid's stats from last night, he went 13 for 25 from the field. Okay. Yeah, that's amazing. That's 53% from the field. But he also went 12 for 16 from the line. So he's not being taken out. And he's not a guy that you're saying cannot be in there during crunch time because he's not going to hit his free throws. And I think that that's really important. If we go down the last couple of games that he has played, especially so he's 12 for 16 last night. On Sunday, he was 14 for 15, so 75% last night, which is below his percentage. His yearly percentage, number 35, 85%. So 12 for 16 for 75%. Sunday, he goes 14 for 15, 93%. 4 for 4, 100%. 5 for 7, 71. 3 for 3, 100. 12 for 13, 92. So in the playoffs, he's about an 87% free throw shooter. That's insane. And I say that that's insane because he's a big guy. And big guys typically do not do that. They do not have that type of free throw percentage. And we just talked about the MVP, Nikola Jokic. Also, in similar, he didn't shoot a free throw on Monday night, but he was 100% on last Thursday against Portland, 87%, 50, and then 100% in the last couple of games that he has played. So he goes 8 for 8, 7 for 8, 1 for 2, 8 for 8, 6 for 6, 3 for 4. There's a reason this guy's the MVP. And part of it is for his regular season. He shot 86% from the free throw line, 26.4 points per game, 10.8 rebounds per game, and 8.3 assists per game. Those are definitely MVP stats. And he got the word yesterday from Adam Silver during the meeting, which was during the team meeting, which I thought was really apropos. He thanked all of his teammates. He said that the MVP is not a individual award, although it really is. It's more of a team effort. And no question, Jokic, look at it. 8.3 assists a game. Well, somebody's got to finish those, right? The key to Jokic is not only 8.3 assists, but only 3 turnovers per game. And if you look at Embiid, who I believe finished second, only had 3 turnovers per game, averaged 28 points a game, 10 rebounds, and 2.8 assists. And again, 85% from the free throw line. And Embiid, 37% from 3. And Jokic, I don't remember what Jokic did from 3. Probably not as well. He's not that much of a 3. Oh, he did. 38.8% from 3. These guys are complete players. They're not the centers of the past. They're not the Dwight Howards. They're not the Hackashacks. They're not any of those players. And believe it or not, I think I actually have the video of Nikola Jokic of getting the award. So let's try and get that on, shall we? As we said, courtesy of ESPN and Nuggets Twitter, look, Jokic had the greatest year of his career, certainly the best year, period. And tonight they're down 1-0 against Phoenix. And Phoenix has Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton. They have played. I mean, this team has played, and they are in game 2. Paul has had a ridiculously good game, ridiculously good playoff so far. For some reason, I'm still sharing, and I don't want to do that. Okay, there we go. So in the last game, look, Chris Paul goes for 21 points and 11 assists and 6 boards. DeAndre Ayton, who there were questions about whether he was going to show up against Nikola Jokic. 20 points on 9 for 13 shooting and 10 rebounds. 10 rebounds against Jokic. Jokic throws down 22 points, but only 9 rebounds, has 4 turnovers. DeAndre Ayton has 1 turnover. Look, the Suns are for real, guys. I did pick them over the Celtics. I believe I picked them here as well. Look, I had the Trailblazers going to the finals, so I have nothing to say in regards to predictions, and I don't make any more in the West because of that. But at the same time, the Suns are for real, and the question of whether the Suns are going to re-sign Chris Paul after this year, look, he's going to be 36 years old, and that's a big deal, right? I mean, he was born in 1985, 36 years old, and if you're going to sign him to another contract, how many years are you going to go? Seth and I talked offline about this earlier today, and if you're the Suns, how do you not sign him to another 3-year and $100 million if he's pulling this off? He's the guy. He is the locomotive for this team. And if you are Robert Sarver and you are looking at this team going further than they are right now, they don't really have any room to go anywhere if they do give up Chris Paul. I mean, their salary cap that going into next year, looking at the multi-year cap. Hold on a second. I have this somewhere. Multi-year summary. So their total cap allocations next year with the player option of Chris Paul is $44 million, and they have $124 million, the cap being about 104. So they'd have $20 million to replace him. You're not going to be able to replace a Chris Paul for $20 million. $20 million is that sweet spot where really nobody really fits in. And we bring on Mark Rubin right now, and as we discussed, masshole. Okay, sit down. We haven't even gotten. Look at this. This is ridiculous. But we're talking about the sweet spot being $20 million and how teams do not have those $20 million players to really trade. And your team is the number one team in the land that does not have that type of player to make a deal. I predicted, I believe it was over a month ago, that Danny must go. I said that he has been lucky at every turn. He was lucky that Billy King was a moron. He was lucky that the Celtics loved Markelle Fultz and not Jason Tatum. He locked into this. And because of that, he's made some pretty awful trades over the last couple of years and pretty awful signings. And the rooster came home to roost last week, in which he got fired. Now, here and don't tell me he resigned. That did not happen. He got shown the door. Brad Stevens is booted up. But I'll tell you again, Brad Stevens is saying, oh, well, we're going to look for a trade for Marcus Smart. Look, you and I have discussed this. Marcus Smart holds very little value around the league. So what are your opinions on the change?
Well, thank you for having me. It's an honor. I am embarrassed to say that I do not have any Bruins gear to counter this offensive background of yours. I'm looking forward to tonight's Game 6. But with regard to my beloved Celtics, I believe I don't necessarily agree that he was fired, but be that as it may, I believe that it's the best thing for the team. And my hot take is that I think that since his first or second heart attack, he lost his fastball with regard to some of his decision making. I think some of his decisions, people who he signed, people who he didn't sign, really put the team in a precarious position. Now, they were tremendously disabled this year between injuries and COVID and Kemba. But I don't, in the spirit of Coach Bill, I don't look back. We're on to Cincinnati. And so here's a few things that I would do in short order.
I'm so interested in hearing these.
If I'm Brad, I'm hiring. I'm not hiring Jason Kidd. I give a long look at Sam Cassell or an ex-player. And if Budenholzer is fired, I think he's a great coach.
He is.
So there you go. But second of all, with regard to the draft, I believe they have the 16th pick and the 45th pick. And with those two picks, I would take, with the first pick, I would take Jared Butler of Baylor. And with the 45th pick, I would take Luka Garza if he's available. They need help. They need a combo guard, and they need a third big man. And last but not least, and you're the cap expert, do they have room to sign unrestricted free agent, wait for it, Ish Smith?
Okay, so first, let's get to they have the 16th pick. You're absolutely right. And according to NBA Draft.net, they're looking at Josh Giddey, who is out of Australia. Who is the guy that you wanted?
Jared Butler of Baylor.
Jared Butler of Baylor, they have going 29th. So he would be available as a point guard. But
he's a combo guard.
Yeah, but hold on. Mark, you and I have gone through this 1,000 different ways to Sunday. The one thing that your team does not need is another guard. You have way too many guards.
Yes, but the people who need to be jettisoned are, in no particular order, Carson Edwards, Tremont Waters. Those were ridiculous picks.
Okay, hold on. So you're talking about jettisoning the guys that are earning $1.3 and $1.8 million. So you're not talking about making major moves here. Well, you're talking about jettisoning the 8th man on your team and bringing in another 8th man on your team.
Well, if they need another combo guard, I think that they don't play nearly as well when Marcus Smart is pressed to be the point guard. So I think they need somebody who can play both positions. But this is why I also said getting Ish Smith to fill the role that Danny envisioned for Jeff Teague, that didn't work out. I've always liked Ish Smith. I don't think he's that expensive. He's, I think, 30 or 31. They wouldn't have to sign him to a long-term contract. So we're talking about using the draft picks, and we're talking about maybe one free agent. There's a report out of, is it ESPN or Boston Sports today, that Kemba wants to be traded. Well, like you've always said to me, you've drilled into my thick skull. Who's going to take him?
Yeah. Look, I'm the first one to – first of all, Ish Smith earned $6 million last year on a 2-year deal. So it's $6 million per year. Number two, Kemba Walker can want to be traded all he wants.
Yeah,
that's nice. But my point to you, first of all, Ish Smith is 33 years old. So I'm not saying he's not a player you should be looking at. My question is, so right now, if that's what if you're looking to spend another $6 million on a guard and then bringing in another guard for your draft pick, which is basically another $4 million. You're shooting guards, and are you re-signing Fournier? Because my assumption is you have to if you took the cap room or the exemption room and used it on him. So you are basically using your 3 top salaries at a combined 56, 66, 76, 86, $86 million. Plus, you're going to sign another $6 million player, so 86, 92. Plus your first-round pick, $92 million of your cap room, and your first-round pick, all on guards. How does that help this team? This team didn't miss guard play. This team missed a stretch four. This team missed a guy that could shot block. This team missed a guy that could play on the block.
The shot blocker is the Time Lord, assuming he's healthy.
When he's healthy, which is almost never.
Why Tristan Thompson and a Luka Garza backing him up, I think, is a good approach. In terms of, their core, they have a good they have a really good four-person core when they're healthy. But that's been a big if. They've got Jason Tatum, who's a budding superstar, Jaylen Brown, who is going to be terrific, is already terrific and is only getting better. Kemba, when he's healthy, is a hell of a player, and Marcus Smart is the kind of a player that everybody wants on their team, but he can't have too prominent a role, especially on offense.
You have four guards, or you have three guards and Jason Tatum. You have nobody. You have nobody that plays inside. Look, this is the same conversation we had last year. You don't have roster construction at all, and if you're going to take you're going to take the one way that you have to get money, which is your biannual exemption. I believe you have $9.5 million if you're over the cap, which you obviously will.
Let me say this: if the thinking is that Jared Butler can play point guard, then you don't need Ish Smith. But if you're not going to sign draft Jared Butler, if you're going to draft the stretch four, like you said, then you need another point guard, because they can't go through another season of Kemba Walker playing every other game and relying upon Marcus Smart to be the point guard.
No, you rely on Peyton Pritchard to be the point guard.
I love his game. I love his work ethic. I just don't know if he's anything other than that seventh or eighth guy off the bench who is only going to get better. He's got a great jump shot. He's got a magnificent work ethic. But I think putting that kind of responsibility upon him might be a recipe for disaster.
Well, right now,
the question, then why did they draft him in the first place?
Well, look, I think the whole team is a recipe for disaster. I think they are in the one spot where you never want to be. They're in purgatory. Correct. They are in their – they have most of their – and look, you and I have had this conversation. I've had this conversation on the show numerous times. They have poor roster construction. They have all their money wrapped up in guards. They have all their money wrapped up in really, really long contracts, which they can't get out of. And if they add –
two of those three contracts are not objectionable because Brown and Tatum.
No, but they are correct. But those are the guys you're not trading.
Correct.
So
it's
then
Walker,
you're going to get
who isn't tradable.
Right.
Unless you plan on giving him away. Who's going to take on that contract with 2 more years left to it?
So Marcus Smart, you have I don't remember how much longer. So Marcus Smart is a free agent after next year. Correct. He earns $14 million. That's just not enough money to get you anywhere. Correct. So Seth and I were talking about this earlier today, where CJ McCollum could go. And if the Blazers were looking to trade CJ McCollum makes $28 million, which is high, right? For a guy that is basically a two guard that doesn't play defense. He earns more than Jaylen Brown. So he's almost a negative contract at $28 million. But $28 million is high enough that you could find overpriced players to trade for. $14 million doesn't get you squat in the NBA. Yep. So trading away Marcus Smart will be bad for a couple of reasons. Number one, it doesn't get you under the cap by trading. Number two, you couldn't replace him for $14 million. And number three, it doesn't get you enough value if you do trade.
Correct.
So the only way that you would get value for Marcus Smart is trading into a team that actually has cap room, which is like the Knicks or the Mavericks, if they were willing to trade a first-round pick for that. But then you're looking at a pick in the 20s, much the same way as you have right now. And if you're the Celtics for one more year, are you willing to do that? No, I think that would be stupid. As we said before, $34.379 million is wrapped up in a guy that has one knee. And that is the biggest problem of all of this, is that the roster construction sucks. Okay, let's go on to something else. So your Pats, and before we get to the 5:30 guest, my brother Mitch Beyer, who will talk extreme hockey. As much as you are a masshole, my bud, he is the hockey guy.
I'm going to listen to that.
He is the hockey guy. So, but he's only an Islander guy. He's not really a hockey guy. He's an Islander fan the same way you are a masshole. It is very similar. So, all right. So reports out of Boston is that Cam Newton has a problem with his hand. Are we seeing Cam Newton day one, or are we seeing Mac Jones day one?
I'm assuming that it's a simple bone bruise with the hand hitting somebody's helmet, and that he will be a full participant in whenever the next OTA is, which may even be this week.
That doesn't answer my question. Who's playing week one?
Oh, week one, I think it's Cam.
Okay, were you happy with the Mac Jones draft pick?
Very much so.
Okay. How many more years does Sir Bill have before he lets go?
I think he is. I'm guessing at least. I'm thinking no less than 3, no more than 5.
Wow. And who's the replacement?
I'm assuming if they are competitive the next 2 or 3 years, it's going to be Josh McDaniels.
That's funny because I really believe it'll be his son. I really think that it will be his son. I think he is either grooming his son or Patricia. I don't think it's McDaniels.
I think that Patricia is being groomed to take the Nick Caserio position.
Okay.
I think that Matt Patricia as a head coach, it was Detroit, say no more. I think that that the Patricia to the front office is akin. Well, he was not nearly as good a coach as Brad Stevens. I was going to say it's analogous to Stevens going to the front office, but I think they're in good shape. I think they did a great job they for whatever it's worth, which is very little. They won the off season. Who cares? Because that's not what we're into in New England. But I think that they're in good position to challenge the Bills for the AFC East title.
Okay, and this is obviously coming from a masshole. So you definitely, true or false, you read the Patriots with rose-colored glasses.
I do, but I try to be objective so that the disappointment is cushioned a little bit, and I think they've improved in a lot of the key areas. But the big question mark is their quarterback play, which is the most important question.
The big question mark is their wide receiver and running back play.
I think they're good at both spots. They're certainly a lot better than last year.
Okay, so you lost Rex Burkhead, but you brought back Sonny Michel and James White. Okay.
And then they drafted this kid out of Oklahoma who everybody is very high on.
In the 4th round. Okay.
And then they have the other kid, I forget his name. He's
the fact that you can't remember his name.
He's good, though. He was good. He had a couple of really – I'm not worried about their running back by committee approach. And then they got Bourne, Aguilar, and then they have the 2 great tight ends. They now have probably the 2 best tight ends in football, the best tight end duo.
Yeah, correct.
Tight end tandem. I'm not worried about the people who are catching the ball and running the ball. Their defense got better, especially with the signing of their draft pick, the kid they got with their 2nd pick, whose name escapes me. He's supposedly Barmore, and then Judon from Baltimore, who they picked up from Baltimore. I think they're going to wreak havoc on opposing quarterbacks, which is something that their defense has missed.
Okay, so there's 2 things I want to tell you. First of all, Dante Hightower returning is the key to that defense.
Agreed.
Number 2, remember Adalius Thomas. That's the last guy that Baltimore let go that the Patriots signed, and you released him 2 years later after a 5-year, $45 million contract.
We shall see.
And he did absolutely nothing.
Well,
Okay,
actually,
my friend.
I would not argue that he did nothing. He started off strong and faded, and then they had and then I think it all went to hell. Remember when there was a snowstorm and he came late for practice and Belichick sent him home, and then he mouthed off and said, "What do you think? This is the Jetsons? I got here as quickly as I could." So anyway, it was all downhill from there.
Oh, he had to throw one more rip on the Jets.
Exactly.
Okay, my friend. Have a great day.
Thank you for inviting me. Go Bruins.
Yeah, whatever. All right, so we'll get to Mitch in a second. Thanks to Mark Rubin for – I'm going to kick him out of the studio. There he goes. So thanks to Mark Rubin for joining on. It's awesome when I have friends that are willing to just join and spread their – I don't even know what to call it, but spread their joy about their team. You know where my joy lands. You know where my brother's joy lands. We have been Islander fans our entire lives. We grew up going to the old barn, which you'll see tonight on NBCSN. Game 6. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We don't want a Game 7. Game 6 against the Bruins tonight from the Nassau Coliseum, which Seth calls the Mausoleum, as does Steve Summers. Tonight, 7:30, Islanders and Bruins, and we bring in my brother Mitch Byer. Mitch, how you doing?
What's up? Let's go Islanders. All right, first of all, let me hit you on this. I know a lot about hockey, not just Islander hockey, but, I feel you what you're saying on that thing. But, for realsies, let's jump into a few key talking points, right? So Winnipeg sweeps Edmonton, and then the other night, now they get swept by Montreal. It's a back-to-back sweep kind of thing. First of all, Montreal, last team in, lowest points in the playoffs getting in. They're now heading to the Western Conference Championship, or whoever, actually, whoever played. I don't have the.
Not really West anymore.
We're West. They're going to go to a conference championship, the next level in the semifinals, whatever you want to call it. They're going to go to that after being the lowest playoff team in.
But it proves one thing. Hold on. It proves one thing, that you can ride a great goalie no matter where you are. Look, we can go through history, and you can start with 1970s with Ken Dryden, and then you go to Bernie Perrette, and then you go to Pelle Lindbergh, and you go to Patrick Waugh, and you can continually go down the most valuable player in the hockey game is the goalie. Where the goalie goes, you follow. And Carey Price is worth every penny of his $12 million in this year's price.
It's funny you say that because it's not funny, humorous that you say that, because you don't look just at Montreal, and I want to give props to Montreal at the beginning of this conversation. We'll hit the Islanders in just a minute. But even like last night, right, Marc-Andre Fleury gives up what has to be the softest of softest goals that he's ever given up in his NHL career. Not only is it not screened, not only is it not right in front of him, not only does he have his glove up to catch the puck, but it literally misses the entire glove. And it's like playing baseball and being that right fielder and going for that catch and it's falling right next to you. Like, it was the softest of softest goals. He pulls his head out of his ass, and he does the next 48 minutes and change standing on his head, and Mark Stone wins in OT, and Vegas comes back again after being down in the series and now leads 3-2 against a heavily, heavily favored Avalanche team, the Avalanche team that won the President's Trophy, the Avalanche team that was supposed to come and make the Colorado fans rejoice again. And now again, Vegas is up again. We see moments of 2020 again, moments of 2019 again. So, props to them for that. So again, with the goalie, you let in that bad goal. Varlamov is the perfect example of that. I'm going to let a goal in the first 3 minutes, and then I'm going to stand on my head for the next 53 minutes kind of thing. Like, if he had just not let in that first goal, the pressure wouldn't have been on him as deeply for the rest. I mean, I'm not saying the shots wouldn't have been there, but the personal pressure might not have been there. But he lets in the goal for the first time again, third straight game in a row. Islanders are down. Somehow they manage to pull their head out of their ass, and they win.
Right. So let's hold on, but let's go back to that, right? So is it? I find it interesting, and you've played goalie before, right? You've played in leagues.
I have,
and I have never done that, but I have certainly played different sports, basketball, baseball, whatever. And when I'm stepping up to the plate the first time I'm in a baseball game, I'm going to take the pitch. And the reason I'm going to take the pitch is because I'm not in game yet. I need to get into the game. And to see a 75 or 80 mile per hour pitch whiz by my face gets me attentive. It gets me in the game. And I have to think that when you're a goalie, something has to come out of that, right? So Varlamov, there are many goalies that have gotten into this where the first shot is sometimes the hardest shot because they're not in game mode yet. They're just sitting out there waiting for, like you said, the right fielder, right? He's just waiting for the play. And when the play eventually comes in the fourth inning, he may mess up that play because the whole game has gone by and he hasn't gotten a shot yet. So here's the shot, and he just gets nervous. What do you think about that?
All right. I mean, I give it to you for a little bit. I would say that goalies do their warm-up drills prior to every game. You and I have been to innumerable warm-ups prior to the game. They're getting their feel in. They're getting their vibe in. They're trying to get on the ice. But, on a level, that the goalie knows where, how hard the shot's going to be usually. He knows you really only have 7 different shots to go for here, 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 and here, right?
Sure.
I'm good zones, right? So he knows basically. But I think that when the goalie lets in the first goal in the first 3 minutes, yeah, I mean, and it's a soft goal. I'm not talking about like a tic-tac-toe one-timer or a garbage goal. Like I'm talking about like a soft goal like Fleury did last night, which was the softest of hard-boiled eggs ever created, right? I think he's just, he's just like you said, he's not in the zone, but I think that he's just a little nervous. He's a little nervous going out for sure.
I think the first shot is always the hardest shot because, and it's just like a quarterback needs to get in a rhythm when he'll throw a really, really short pass just to get in a rhythm of his arm motion, and the running back wants the first carry because he can get hit. Because he needs to get used to getting hit during a game, which is much different than practice. I think a lot of it has to go into that. So
you're right. But let's not forget, every goalie in the history of the NHL from 1920 on, every single goalie that has ever been in any game has let in a soft goal at some point.
Absolutely. Just like every pitcher has given up a home run. And every pitcher is giving up a hanging curveball, and the best players in the world have gotten called on a strike 3.
Absolutely. So it's not the soft goal that I'm bitching about. It's just that it's interesting to see that top world-class goalies, Marc-Andre Fleury, Carey Price, Varlamov, anybody that's in the net right now, even Tuukka Rask, right? When they let in a soft goal, sure, they're kicking their ass for a whole 20 seconds. But then right as you see, like for the next 40 minutes, they are as perfect as you can possibly get. Every stop that they physically can save, they will save.
Right. And like we just said before, goaltending is the most important part of any hockey team. And it is the backbone of your hockey team. And they say this about quarterbacks, and I think it's the same thing about goalies. If you have 2 goalies, you really have no goalies. You need to be able to ride the one goalie, whoever that goalie is. And in this case, let's bring it back to the Islanders. And it was nice that Ilya Sorokin got some play time, no question about it. But if the Islanders, I was about to say the Knicks, if the Islanders need to go on and they need to continue playing, and they are going to continue playing in this playoffs, it's going to be on Varlamov's shoulders. It will not.
It will.
if the Islanders do not see Sorokin again behind the net, they will win the Stanley Cup. That's basically the key.
If you look at Sorokin versus Varley, the one incredible difference that I've read on Lighthouse Hockey, I hear on ESPN, I read about on ESPN, is that Sorokin has significantly better lateral, low, left to right, right to left pad movement. And Varley is significantly better up top with the left to right shifting on the goalposts. Because the Brad Marchand goal that went in last game where he went right around Pulock, I think Sorokin would have stopped that. I think that he has enough lateral movement on the ice to spread out his legs. We've seen him do splits time and time again. So I don't think it would have gotten that bad. But we needed Varley in the net for all the things that Sorokin couldn't do, right? So it's great that he was great at that in that one level, but Varley has the experience from Colorado, from all the teams that he's played on now. And I'm not saying Sorokin doesn't have it. Coming out of the KHL, Olympics, playing every major, he has won every single. In fact, if you want to think about it, Sorokin has won every single major trophy outside of the NHL. If you add the Stanley Cup to that and maybe a Vezina trophy, he's probably won every single major trophy for hockey in the entire world. And that's nothing to sneeze at, being a friggin' rookie in the NHL. So,
But he's not the horse that you want to ride right now.
No, not right now. Not right now.
He's the future. It's not the present.
Going into the game tonight, let's just touch it because I know we got limited time, right? Let's just touch it tonight. Are we going to close out the Bruins at the old barn? Are we going to?
Well, if they don't close them out tonight, I don't think they close them out in Game 7. So I think it's tonight. I think they do close them out. And I'll tell you one thing. I told Seth this earlier today, and Seth's off tonight. And thanks to Mitch and Mark for joining us. But if they close them out tonight, I predict another 7-2 game versus the Lightning in Game 1. Because I think that this will be just like last year in the fact that the Islanders are bruising and they are kicking the crap out of each other. And I don't care who wins, whether it be Boston or us, the Lightning are going to win 7-2 or 6-1 or 5-0 in the first game. Because those games are not as tough as the ones that we are playing right now.
The Lightning play, I would say, a 70% finesse, 30% aggressive aggro game comparatively to the Bruins, which is more 50-50. They play a 50% finesse game on their front line, and then their next three lines are all aggro lines. Do they have skill? Sure. Does Taylor Hall have skill? Sure. But they're still aggro second, third, and fourth lines. While the Tampa Bay Lightning, they roll four lines like we roll four lines.
Yeah, but their four lines are much more skilled.
No, that's what I'm saying. Their four lines are much more skilled comparatively to our third and the Islanders' third and fourth line, which is aggro. Right, their third and fourth lines are finesse with a little bit of aggro thrown in because, third and fourth lines, and that's kind of why they're there a little bit. So do we win tonight? Yes. Is it an overtime game? It will be an overtime game if I think a few things happen. One, if Varley, again, lets in a soft goal at an inopportune time, it will motivate the Bruins that they can do it again. If the Islanders are up by 2 or 3 with 10 minutes left in the third, they're going to be rolling their first two lines for the next 10 minutes trying to get their equalizer like they did the other night. We're up 5-2, and all of a sudden we're up 5-4, right? I mean, it was like that. Boom. We have to work hard for every single goal we get. They flip a light switch and boom, they got a goal, right? Yep. So you can't sit back. The one thing that I read on Lighthouse Hockey that I 100% agree was we started falling back. We started challenging at the blue line and then slowly creeping backwards into a box while the rest of the game We were at the blue line. We were challenging into the blue line and challenging into the neutral zone. And then that was very effective the entire game. All of a sudden, we're up 5-2. Now we're falling back, not just from the neutral zone, but from our own defensive zone, and we're creating a box. And that's not where you want to be. You know, I've often said, and you've heard me say this, I'll look at the TV and be like, are we on a penalty? Like, you know, they're setting up for like their penalty offensive. We still have 5 guys on the ice, but we're playing like we're on a penalty kill, right? So we can't.
The shooting gallery defense doesn't work, right? We've established that. The shooting gallery of them just taking whatever shot that they want does not work.
Right.
You need, much the same way as prevent defense doesn't work in the NFL, prevent defense in the NHL doesn't work either. You can't just drop back and say, go ahead and shoot, and we'll just clear the zone. Because you don't clear the zone, and you can't make a shift. You can't make a shift change. So it does not work that way, and that's unfortunate. So give me a prediction on tonight.
Tonight, Islanders win. I'm going to give either 4-2 with the fourth being an empty net. So we're up 3-2 with 5 minutes left. They pull with 2.5, and we get a fourth, 4-2. Or Islanders win big, like big, and I don't think that actually happens. On the flip side, if the Bruins win, it's 3-2.
No, it's 3-3. Oh,
no, I'm saying they win 3-2. I'm saying if tonight they win 3-2, 2-1, 5-4, whatever it is. You know, that 1-goal game. I'm not saying we can't win in Boston for the 7th game. I'm not saying that because the Islanders play a type of game where while the crowd does help, they believe in each other on the ice, which we've already seen multiple times when they won in Pittsburgh. Fierce crowd. One in Boston, fierce crowd. I'm not saying they can't win a 7th game. I'm saying if they win a 6th game, take those extra 3 days and get ready for Tampa. Because, you know, it's hard to go from a 7th game, then you get a night off, then you go right back into a conference final. I mean, like, boosh, that's brutal. What do you think?
All right, so Avalanche and Golden Knights. Tomorrow night, Vegas is leading 3-2. Does Vegas close it out at home?
Vegas.
Okay. So then we would have Vegas versus Montreal.
Well, I don't know. How did the divisional reseed? Remember they kept saying divisional reseeding happens in the semifinals.
No, there's a bracket. It's the NHL bracket. The bracket states – hold on. I'm going to get the bracket up so everybody can look at it. So hold on. So Tampa Bay will face the winner of the Islanders versus the Bruins, and Montreal will face the winner of the Avalanche versus the Knights. So Colorado or Vegas. So you got Vegas winning tomorrow. So do you have Montreal or Vegas?
I have Vegas.
And you have the Islanders winning tonight. So you have the Islanders versus Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and Montreal versus Vegas, which should be a hell of a matchup.
Right. So give me some predictions. So Tampa Bay or the Islanders?
Tampa Bay in 6.
And Vegas versus Montreal.
That's a hard one because Montreal is running on its pure energy. You know, they are absolutely kicking ass right now in ways that I don't think anyone figured they would. They're undefeated in the playoffs, which is almost unheard of in the modern age. On the other hand, Vegas is a juggernaut, man.
They're not undefeated. They're not undefeated. They lost their first game to. They lost a lot of games actually to Toronto.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of. I was thinking of Winnipeg for a minute. Sorry. So Montreal. I don't know. Toss up. They each have their strengths. It could be Vegas. You know, Vegas in 7, maybe.
Okay.
I don't really care. I don't really know. I don't really have a prediction.
So who's winning the cup?
I think the Lightning, if they make it, they win the cup. Let me flip it for another way, though. If the Islanders do manage to beat the Bruins tomorrow, and they do manage to get out of the semifinals into the Stanley Cup finals, and hypothetically they play against Montreal, that will be a cup final that will go down into the history, literally the history of NHL video for literally all of time, because you have two unbelievably fervent, rampant fan bases in the Islanders and Montreal. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine how the Coliseum and where Montreal plays will be left on the foundations of iron, because the roofs will literally be coming down. Okay.
Well, I hope that you are right and that Montreal faces the Islanders. I don't see it that way. I have the Lightning again versus the Golden Knights. I can't make a prediction because I was wrong to begin with, so I'm going to stay without it. But anyway, as you know, this is the one matchup, the Bruins, I did not want to face. I've been saying that all year because I thought it would be the toughest matchup. It has been, and going into a Lightning series reminds me very much, if the Islanders win, of what we did last year versus Philadelphia and then versus Washington, and then facing Tampa Bay, all beat up. But the difference is we have Varlamov that is playing well, and we have Adam Pelech, which we did not have last year after he got hurt.
Let me throw out these names before we close out to get your opinion on what's going to happen for next year. Okay? Let me throw out these names.
You got 2 minutes.
Connor McDavid.
What about it?
Staying with Edmonton?
Oh, yeah. Not going anywhere. Not going to a damn place.
How do you think that the fan base and him reconcile the fact that he's a Wayne Gretzky generational talent that literally hasn't gone anywhere and hasn't won anything?
And he'll be fine for a couple more years. He's earning $12.5 million. He's not going anywhere.
Eichel on the Sabres. Where does he go?
Eichel goes to either Minnesota, the Kings, or the Rangers.
Well, let's hope it's Minnesota or the Kings, right?
Yeah. Well, let's hope Minnesota. Look, him in Minnesota would be amazing. I think that would be great for the fan base.
Right. I think that you're going to do well. And who do you think the Kraken? By the way, I still think best name in NHL. Friggin' love it. Love the Kraken. Who are they taking from the Islanders, in your opinion? I know you want it to be Leddy, but it may not be Leddy at 5.5. Who do you think it's going to be?
No, I don't think Leddy will be gone at 5.5. I think it will probably be – I think the Islanders hope it is Kiefer Bellows. I think they hope it's Kiefer Bellows. It really depends on who is protected. If Leddy is available, I think Leddy's gone. If Leddy's not available and it's Mayfield, I think Mayfield's gone. Whoever that person is that's not protected is going to, in my opinion, will be gone. And I hope it's Leddy.
I hope it's Leddy too, but Leddy, I don't see, the thing is, I don't see it being Leddy, because Leddy's legs, while he's swift on north to south, his endurance is not particularly super high, as we've seen throughout this series. So while he's good on the quick jump, he's not super good with 1:45 on the ice. So I don't think they take him at the 5.5. And I think that's the reason that even if he's free and Bellows is open, maybe they take Bellows. Anyway, I know you got to go. Thank you for having me on the show. Much love. And, for my previous guest with the Patriots, let's go Patriots. I don't know. I don't care about football.
Goodbye, Mitch. We'll see you later. All right, that was Mitch Byer, my brother. I'm kicking him from the studio right now. There he goes. Thanks so much to Mark Rubin and to Mitch Byer for taking the slack up for the last hour. It's been a lot of fun here. For our last 5 minutes here on the show, it's important to recognize sometimes greatness, right? And greatness is Jacob Degrom right now, and I cannot tell you how great he really has been. His strikeouts to walk ratio is 11.63. He's averaging 14.4 strikeouts per game. His ERA plus is 626. ERA plus is at 100 is the average pitcher in the Major League Baseball, and he is at 626. ERA of 0.62 through 9 starts. Best ever. Best ever. Better than Bob Gibson's 1.12. Better than Dutch Leonard's 1.06. Better. You're looking at greatness. Here is greatness. You talk about Mike Trout's greatness. Mike Trout is great. You talk about Albert Pujols' greatness when you saw him back in the day. Albert Pujols is great. You talk about Barry Bonds and greatness. He was great. You talk about Sandy Koufax, and everybody talks about Koufaxian. I will tell you right now, for the last 9 games this year, Sandy Koufax never had a 9-game stretch like this. Believe that. 25 hits against 93 strikeouts in 58 innings. Just think about that. 93 strikeouts in 58 innings. Guys, you're seeing greatness. So, anyway, for Seth Kamens, who's not here, for Mitch Beyer, who was here, and for Mark Rubin, who was here, neither one is still here. I'm Sean Palmer. And we're going to end this with, let's go Islanders. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week, and have a good one.